Something is happening in Foxborough that does not live only in the headline. The Patriots are listening to the market, reading the locker room, and trying to figure out which pieces can still become value before camp really heats up. A receiver has landed right in the middle of trade conversations. The edge of the defense still needs insurance. A tight end injury has opened an unexpected battle, and even Rhamondre Stevenson is starting to touch franchise history. This is not just a checklist. This is a behind-the-scenes read, the kind that shows where this team might be pointing. Subscribe to Patriots Club fans and come with me. The first conversation has a name now, Kayshon Boutte, and this is exactly the kind of topic that separates fans who only stare at the depth chart from fans who are trying to understand the entire board. From the outside, it looks simple. The receiver room is crowded. I.J. Brown arrived with star weight. Romeo Doubs is in the building too. Kyle Williams is expected to take a jump, and Boutte is going into a contract year. But inside the building, the question is sharper. Do you move a 23-year-old receiver with perimeter ability and deep game value before you even know if this room actually fits once real contact begins? Boutte himself left the door open both ways. At mandatory minicamp, he said he wants to be in New England, that he would not mind staying, and that he is willing to play X, Z, F, whatever is best for him. But in the same breath, he also admitted the reality. There is only one football and multiple receivers fighting for space. To me, that sounds less like drama and more like a player who understands the cold math of the NFL. He wants to stay, but he wants a path. He wants to compete, but he does not want to vanish behind bigger names. That is where the behind-the-scenes piece gets interesting. If Baltimore really put a future fourth-round pick on the table, as suggested, New England would have to listen. Not because Boutte is not good enough, because of the opposite. A top 125 pick in a loaded class can become flexibility to move up, move down, package picks, and attack another need. For a team already looking at the 2027 roster with several selections, that is ammunition. But sending a young receiver to Lamar Jackson and a team with Super Bowl ambition takes guts. You would be betting that draft value outweighs the risk of watching him grow inside another AFC offense. The Las Vegas idea has a different flavor. Malcolm Koonce would not be some abstract return. That would be turning receiver overflow into actual help on the edge, where Harold Landry is still coming off a physical question and Jesus has his own contract situation. Koonce had 8 sacks in 2023 and 14.5 in his career. For a system expected to blitz a lot, that kind of piece can make sense very quickly. And the Giants' idea is the boldest one because Kayvon Thibodeaux carries name value, pedigree, and an expiring contract. Maybe New England would still have to attach a day 3 pick. Even then, if the Patriots view the statistical dip as a buy low window, that becomes the kind of conversation an aggressive front office has. My verdict? Boutte should not be thrown away. But if the receiver room is truly packed, the Patriots need to turn that traffic into leverage. Keeping talent is good. Converting a block talent into pass rush, draft capital, or defensive upside might be even better. That is the hard decision. Protect depth today, or buy impact for a need that could show up in September. The second story touches that same open wound, the edge of the defense. If New England is studying ways to turn receiver overflow into defensive help, Jadeveon Clowney keeps showing up as one of those league conversations that just refuses to die. And why? Because the fit is almost too obvious to ignore. Mike Vrabel can keep saying he likes the room. I actually believe he does. No coach wants to walk into training camp saying a position is thin, exposed, and asking for help. But liking the room and trusting it for a full season are two very different things. Harold Landry still has questions after surgery. Jesus has talent, but he is a rookie and already had that uncomfortable contract situation. Braden Swinson is young. Draymond Jones helps, but he does not solve the rotation by himself. And when you build a defense that wants to pressure, confuse protections, and bring heavy blitz looks, edge depth is not a luxury, it is fuel. Clowney, at 33, is not coming in as the face of the future. Nobody needs to pretend that. But a veteran coming off an 8.5 sack season can be exactly the kind of piece that keeps the defense from losing force if a young player wobbles or Landry needs time. Sometimes the smart move is not the flashiest one. It is the move that prevents the hole. The move that keeps the plan alive when September starts demanding answers. And the Vrabel connection makes it even harder to dismiss. Vrabel was in Houston when Clowney was drafted. He saw that phase up close. He knows the profile. He understands the kind of physical presence Clowney can bring. That does not guarantee anything, but in NFL back rooms, relationships matter. Trust matters. Knowing how a veteran works, how he learns, how he fits into a room, all of that goes into the decision. To me, the read is simple. If the Patriots want to become an uncomfortable team to face again, they cannot rely only on hope in the rotation. Jackus and Swinson can grow faster with someone like that nearby. Landry gets protection. Vrabel gets another option. The defense gets margin. The point is not chasing a famous name. The point is recognizing that the AFC punishes incomplete rosters. New England has already made big moves to raise the ceiling. Now it needs smart moves to protect the floor. Clowney represents exactly that kind of conversation. Maybe not the loudest move of the summer, but possibly the adjustment that prevents an expensive problem once games get heavy. But rosters are not built only with pretty trades and recognizable veterans. Sometimes the most important behind-the-scenes moment starts with an absence. Julian Hill's injury is that kind of quiet blow, because it hits a part of the offensive plan that felt clearly defined. Heavier bodies, inline blocking, multiple tight end formations, and more support for an offense that needed to get physical again. Hill did not arrive by accident. The Patriots gave him 3 years and $15 million because they wanted a number 2 next to Hunter Henry, someone who could handle the dirty work that does not make highlights, but changes second down, helps play action, and gives the coordinator more freedom to disguise intent. After a season where Drake Maye's protection struggled and the run game lacked consistency in short yardage moments, that kind of player had real value. When Vrabel rules Hill out for 2026, that is not just losing a depth name, it is losing a function. That brings in Tanner Arkin, and this story has the feel of one of those training camp battles you watch closer than the headline suggests. He is undrafted, yes, but he is 6'4", 262 pounds, has a blocking profile, has shown some ability catching the ball, and landed a contract with $272,500 guaranteed. For a UDFA, that gets your attention. It does not mean a roster spot is handed to him. It means New England invested enough to study him seriously. His comments about Josh McDaniels' offense matter too. Arkin talked about fullback usage, multiple tight end packages, and McDaniels' history with the position. That shows he understands where he can fit. He is not selling some fantasy about becoming a star. He is seeing a role. In New England, a role can save a career. Hunter Henry is locked in. Eli Raridune should have room as a third-round rookie. Jack Westover already had plenty of use as a fullback. CJ Dupree and Arkin are in that behind-the-scenes fight where every rep counts. If the Patriots keep 3 tight ends and want to preserve space for a 7th receiver, the math gets cruel. But if Arkin blocks well, learns fast, and shows special teams value, he can turn a devastating injury into a real roster opportunity. That is the less glamorous part, but maybe one of the most Patriots parts of the day. Lose a planned piece and find out whether someone near the bottom of the roster has the discipline to fill a specific job. He does not need to be a hero. He needs to be reliable. After talking depth, trades, pass rush, and tight end, the fourth story changes the angle, but it stays tied to the same central theme: identity. Rhamondre Stevenson is entering that strange territory where we stop talking only about the next game and start looking at his place in Patriots history. And yes, I know that may sound too big for some fans right now. Red jacket? Team Hall of Fame? Slow down. But the numbers are already knocking, and pretending they are not would be lazy. Stevenson has 836 carries through 5 seasons. He is already closing in on huge names in franchise history. Kevin Falk has 864. John Stevens has 891. Curtis Martin, even with only 3 seasons in New England, sits at 958. If Stevenson gets a normal workload in 2026, he can pass all 3. He does not need some outrageous season. He just needs to keep being the guy the offense calls when it wants to set a tone, burn clock, face loaded boxes, and keep the defense honest. The rushing yards conversation is serious too. Sam Cunningham still sits on the throne with 5,453. Jim Nantz has 5,323. Tony Collins has 4,647. Curtis Martin had 3,799. Stevenson already has 3,669. He is one strong stretch away from passing Martin in Patriots rushing yards. That does not erase context. It does not put every era in the same bucket. It does not ignore how different the league was. But it does put Rhamondre in a conversation a lot of people may not be ready to have yet. What gets me is how it connects to last season. He flipped the switch in October, helped the team reach the Super Bowl, and scored his first career postseason touchdown against Seattle. When he said it felt rewarding to finally see the work pay off after losing seasons, that did not sound like a polished quote. It sounded like a player who went through the ugly stretch, kept training, kept taking hits, and finally felt the locker room come out of the tunnel. That matters because Stevenson is not only individual production, he is continuity in a franchise that has gone through a lot of change. New quarterback growing, offensive line being rebuilt, offense trying to take shape, receivers arriving, tight ends shifting. And there is Rhamondre, still under contract through the end of 2028, carrying part of this roster's competitive memory. The behind-the-scenes question now is different. How do you preserve that value without grinding the player down? If New England wants Stevenson chasing historic marks and still delivering in big games, it has to manage the workload, improve the blocking, find compliments, and avoid turning every first down into an unnecessary collision. Foxborough read in the comments, do you already put Rhamondre Stevenson in the conversation for the greatest running back in Patriots history, or do you still need 3 more years of production before opening that door? For me, he is still building the case, but the case exists. And when a player starts closing in on Cunningham, Nance, Collins, and Curtis Martin, we are not talking about a detail. We are talking about a legacy taking shape while the season is still alive. The picture today is clear. The Patriots are in a phase where every detail reveals intent. Boutte has value, but he can also become currency. Clowney shows up as insurance for a defense that cannot afford to be short. Tanner Arkin is a reminder that winning rosters can also be built from the bottom of the list. And Stevenson puts history on the table while he is still carrying the ball at a high level. It is inside movement, it is decision-making, it is construction. New England cannot fall in love with names or ignore signals. It has to act with cold judgment and real ambition. Drop a like, subscribe to Patriots Club fans, and come back tomorrow because Foxborough still has plenty left to reveal.